Chapter 7 Spy School. Kim began to walk up the street to look for Lurgan Sahib's shop. He felt very important. He was now a Sahib. He saw a little Indian boy about 10 years old sitting under a lamp-post.
"Where is Mr. Lurgan's shop?"
Kim asked him. The boy took Kim to a shop with a veranda on the street. The door was open. "He has arrived," said the little boy very quietly. Kim felt that Lurgan Sahib had sent the boy to bring him here. Kim went into the building and saw a man with a black beard wearing a green shade over his eyes. He was sitting at a table. With incredible quickness, he was putting shiny pearls on a string.
79, 80, 81,
the man counted to himself, and then he took off his green shade and stared at Kim. The pupils of his eyes became very large and then very small, as if he controlled them. Kim had seen a magician do this in Lahore, so he was not frightened.
Do not be afraid,
said Lurgan Sahib suddenly.
"Why should I be afraid?"
replied Kim.
You will sleep here tonight and stay with me until it is time to go again to Lucknow. It is an order.
"It is an order,"
Kim repeated.
"But where will I sleep?"
Here in this room.
Lurgan Sahib pointed to the dark room behind him.
"Fine,"
said Kim calmly.
"Now?"
Lurgan Sahib nodded and held a lamp above his head. Kim could now see the Tibetan devil masks on the walls, together with many other frightening masks, swords and knives. Kim had already seen many of these objects in the Lahore Museum. He also saw the little boy sitting under the table. He had a smile on his face.
"I think Lurgan Sahib wants to make me afraid. And I am sure that devil boy under the table wants to see me afraid,"
he thought.
"This place,"
he said aloud,
"is like a wonder house. Where is my bed? And you, little boy, stop smiling because I will beat you in the morning."
When Kim woke up the next morning, Lurgan Sahib was looking down at him. The man offered Kim his hand.
Shake hands, O'Hara,
he said. Kim looked at him carefully. He was a Sahib because he wore Sahib clothing, but the accent of his Hindustani was perfect, and his English was not at all like a Sahib.
I am sorry you cannot beat my boy this morning. He says he will kill you with a knife or poison. He is jealous. He has just tried to kill me with poison. You must help with the breakfast. He is almost too jealous to trust just now.
Well,
Kim thought,
a Sahib from England would make a big fuss about this story of jealousy. But Lurgan Sahib said it very calmly as Mahbub talks about his dangerous travels in Afghanistan.
Lurgan walked to the other end of the veranda to fill up a water jar.
Do you want a drink?
Lurgan asked. Kim nodded. Lurgan Sahib, who was 15 feet away, put his hand on the jar. In the very next moment, it was next to Kim's elbow, and it was completely full.
"Wow,"
said Kim in complete amazement.
"That is magic."
Lurgan smiled. He liked the compliment.
Throw it back,
Lurgan said.
"It will break,"
said Kim.
Throw it back.
Kim threw it in the direction of Lurgan. It fell on the ground and broke into 50 pieces.
"I said it would break,"
said Kim.
It isn't important,
said Lurgan.
Look at the largest piece.
The largest piece had a little water in it and sparkled in the light. Lurgan Sahib came and put his hand on the back of Kim's neck and whispered,
Look, it will come together again, piece by piece. First, the big piece will join itself to two other pieces on the right and the left, on the right and the left. Look.
Lurgan held Kim very lightly and delicately, but Kim could not move at all. Now he saw one piece where there had been 3 small pieces. and above this large piece he could now vaguely see the shape of the entire jar. But the jar had been broken. He had seen it break into pieces on the floor.
"Look, it is coming together again,"
said Lurgan Sahib. Kim began to fight this illusion. Before, he had thought in Hindustani, but now he began to say to himself the multiplication table in English.
"Look, it is coming together again,"
whispered Lurgan Sahib.
The jar was broken into many pieces,
thought Kim in English.
And 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12.
Kim continued repeating the multiplication table, and gradually the vague shape of the jar disappeared, and only the broken pieces remained.
"Look, is it coming together again?"
asked Lurgan Sahib.
No,
answered Kim.
It is still broken. There are still pieces on the floor like before. It is broken. It is still broken.
Then Kim finally pulled away from Lurgan.
Was that more magic?
asked Kim.
"No, it was not magic,"
answered Lurgan.
"It was a test, and I am very happy with you. Very, very happy. You are the first to resist, the first that did not see the illusion."
Lurgan sat down at the table. They heard the little boy crying.
"Ah, it is you. You are so jealous. Will you try to poison me again?"
asked Lurgan. "Never, never, no!" cried the boy.
"And will you try to kill this other boy?"
asked Lurgan. "No, never!" cried the boy.
"What do you think he will do?"
Lurgan suddenly asked Kim.
I don't know,
answered Kim.
But why does he want to poison you?
"Because he likes me so much. He is jealous because he thinks I prefer you to him,"
explained Lurgan. "Oh, please, send him away," cried the boy.
"Not yet,"
said Lurgan.
"He will go away in a little bit, but now he is at school, and you will be his teacher. Play the game of the jewels against him. I will keep score."
The little boy ran and got a box filled with jewels. Lurgan took out 15 jewels and put them on the table in front of Kim.
What is the game?
asked Kim. You must look at the jewels. You can even touch them if you want, explained the boy. You can look at them as long as you want. I will only need a moment. Then you must cover them with a piece of paper and describe them all to Lurgan Sahib. Kim looked carefully at the jewels and was able to describe 13 of them. But the little boy was much better. When his turn came, he looked for half a minute at his jewels and then described them all in the greatest possible detail. They played several times, and each time the boy was much better than Kim.
"Is the boy better than you?"
asked Lurgan.
Yes, certainly,
said Kim.
"Good,"
said Lurgan.
"Then he will teach you now."
Chapter 8. Hari Chunda Mukherjee. Kim stayed with Lurgan Sahib for 10 days. He and the boy often played the game of the jewels, but not always with jewels. Sometimes they used other objects, and other times they used photographs of people. Sometimes Kim and the boy sat in the back of the shop. They had to look carefully at every person who came in. Then, at the end of the day, they had to describe each person's face, talk, and actions. Sometimes they dressed up like different kinds of Indians. The shop was full of all different kinds of clothing, and Lurgan Sahib was an expert at makeup. This, perhaps, was Kim's favourite part. He loved dressing up like different people. One evening, Kim dressed up like a beggar from Lahore. He imitated perfectly what the beggar said when he begged from an Englishman and from an Indian. Lurgan Sahib laughed loudly and told Kim to stay dressed as a Lahore beggar and to wait. After a few minutes, a big babu came into the shop. His name was Hurry Chunda Mukherjee. Kim began his imitation of the Lahore beggar. Lurgan Sahib watched the Babu very carefully.
"I think," said the Babu, "I am of the opinion that it is a most extraordinary and efficient performance. How soon will he be capable of making maps? Because then I will want to use him."
"That is what he must learn at Lucknow," answered
Lurgan.
"Then tell him to be quick. Good night, Lurgan,"
said the Babu, and walked out like a big, heavy cow. Later, when they were talking about the visitors to the shop, Lurgan asked Kim about the fat man.
"Well, I see that he wants me to work for him when I finish school,"
said Kim.
"So I suppose he is a member of the Secret Service too. But to look at him, I do not understand how he can wear disguises and speak different languages."
"You will learn many things," answered
Lurgan Sahib.
"But there are very few men who really want to work for the Secret Service, to travel around India and collect information. And maybe of these few men, there are 10 that I think are the best. Hurry Chunda Mukherjee is among these 10. A brave Bengali. Isn't that incredible?"
4 days later, Kim got into a carriage to go back to school. The Babu travelled with him. Kim looked at him with amazement.
How can this big round man be a member of the Secret Service?
Later in the journey, after a large meal, Hurry Chunda Mukherjee began to talk to Kim.
"You know,"
he said,
"I studied at Calcutta University. Remember to study Shakespeare at school. That too can be useful. Also French and Latin. Learn mathematics well, and the art of measuring the land and making maps. This is most important. Someday I hope we will work together officially. Now, goodbye. I have very urgent business nearby."
He got down quickly from the carriage like a slim, silent, graceful cat. Kim enjoyed school and he studied hard. He knew that he had to learn everything about map-making and describing cities. This was essential if he wanted to play the great game. Kim did well too, but when the holidays came, he wanted to be free again. So, Colonel Creighton gave him permission to travel with Mahbub Ali. When Kim was 16, Mahbub Ali thought that Kim had had enough school.
"He has learned everything about maths and map-making he needs,"
said Mahbub.
"If he continues at school, it will only ruin him as a player in the great game." "I agree very much too,"
added Hurry Chunda Mukherjee.
"Well,"
said Colonel Creighton, who was not so certain,
"perhaps he can travel with his red llama for 6 months. Maybe, though, Hurry can keep an eye on him from time to time."
So it was decided, and a letter was sent to Kim's headmaster. The headmaster then called for Kim.
"Young man, you are very fortunate,"
said the headmaster.
"Your first job is going to be map-making. Remember, you are still young. Be careful."
Kim was very happy. That evening he met Mahbub at the Lucknow train station. Mahbub explained everything to Kim. Kim then took the train to Benares to meet the Lama at the Jain temple. Chapter 9. On the Road Again. When Kim first saw the Lama in front of the temple, he fell to the Lama's feet.
"You paid for my school and food for 3 years. I have completed my studies and now I have come to you."
"You are no longer a child. You are now a man,"
said the Lama.
"I was right to leave you with those men with guns."
Kim and the Lama talked about their first journey together for some time. Then they decided on where to go next. The Lama wanted to go north to see the kind old lady who lived near Saharanpur. They took a train north to Delhi, and then from Delhi they took a train to Saharanpur. From there they continued their journey on foot. They walked across the countryside talking and praying. Each evening they received hospitality in a different village. Sometimes they stopped along the roadside and the Lama pulled out his illustration of the Wheel of Life. He explained to Kim how people are born and die and are reborn again. He showed Kim the different hells and paradises. Sometimes people stopped and threw flowers on the Lama's drawing as a sign of respect and devotion. One day, a servant of the old lady found them. This was not difficult. There were no other red llamas travelling about the countryside.
"The old lady wants to see you again,"
said the servant.
"She needs more charms for her grandchild. He always becomes sick after eating too many mangoes."
"Oh yes,"
said the Lama.
"I remember now.
He had forgotten their destination.
I often stayed with her when you were in school. She talks too much, but she is a very good woman. I do not like giving charms, but for her, I can."
Kim, the Lama, and the servant then walked 11 miles to the house of the old lady. She was very happy when she saw Kim and the Lama. She talked to them from the window of her house.
"Oh, how handsome you have become,"
she said to Kim.
"Many women must be in love with you."
"Oh, Maharani,"
replied Kim.
"you are still a great beauty."
"Still?"
laughed the old lady.
"Maybe 20, maybe 30 years ago."
After dinner, the Lama went off to his little room to sleep, and Kim stayed by the fire.
"I hope,"
said the old lady,
"tomorrow the Lama will make me a charm for my grandchild. He can also give me his opinion of the drugs of my new doctor."
"What new doctor, Maharani?"
said Kim.
"Oh, he is very good. He is a Bengali. His medicines are very, very good. I myself have used them."
"Oh, be careful,"
said Kim, a little jealous of this new doctor.
"These travelling doctors sell coloured water and call it medicine."
"Really? You doubt me?"
said a deep voice from the darkness. The doctor came and sat next to Kim by the fire. They began to talk about medicine. When they were finally alone, the doctor, who was a very large man, said to Kim,
"Ah, don't you recognize me?"
"No, why should I? I mean..."
said Kim, confused.
"Oh, it's you, Hurry Babu. How did you find me?"
"Red llamas are not very common in this part of the world,"
explained Hurry Babu.
"Also, Mahbub told me you were coming here. I bought a box of medicine and began my journey as a travelling doctor. I really am a good doctor, though. But there is an important mission for us, Mr. O'Hara."
"What is it? I hoped to play the great game soon,"
said Kim.
"Very soon,"
began Hurry Babu.
"Do you remember the white stallion?"
"Yes,"
Kim replied.
"there were 5 kings who prepared a war against the British 3 years ago. I brought a message from Mahbub to Colonel Creighton."
"Exactly,"
continued Hurry Babu.
"but there was no war in the end. 2 of those 5 kings were paid by the British. They said they would protect the North. However, I have discovered that these 2 kings are now working with the Russians. In fact, a Russian and a Frenchman are now in the North, making promises to the kings and making maps."
"I am beginning to understand,"
said Kim.
"I am going to the North to see what these 2 are doing,"
said Hurry Babu.
"I would like some assistance. I am always afraid, you know. I am a Bengali after all. You do not need to travel with me. If you are near in case of danger, that is enough. So, you must persuade your Lama to continue his search for the river of the arrow to the north."
"That will not be difficult,"
said Kim.
"He comes from the hills and suffers greatly in the heat of the plains."
The next day at noon, Hurry Babu left. That evening, Kim and the Lama also left for the hills. It had not been at all difficult to persuade the Lama to continue his search in his cool hills.